Peace, assalamu alaikum, hotep, namaste, jambo, ashe. All the greetings of love and light to the darkest minds of the light. I am Napah Shadah. Shalom. I am so glad for those who are joining me late tonight. We talked to well, she doesn't like to be called doctor. We talked to Shahrazad Ali on the Cam Up podcast today, and she really covered a lot of interesting points. She talked about children and upbringing. Oh, by the way, hit the like when you come in. And peace to the people I see you in the chat. She talked about, one second. Sorry, guys. Okay, so she talked about children and upbringing, and she made a lot of sense. She talked about diet, and I wanted to go further into that because I have spoken before about the the effects of the lack of secure attachment and how it affects the development of children, and why we have a lot of people in our community, especially, but not just Black people, a lot of people who are not well in the mind. So I'm going to show you some video. We're going to read some articles, and we're going to really focus on mothers as well. Yes, fathers are very important and crucial. However, we can't deny that the mother is the first connection with the child, because the child is in the womb of the mother. The mother gives the child the food in the womb. Whatever, all the stress the mother feels is affecting the child. And then when the child comes out, immediately when the child comes out, the child is attached to the mother, or should be attached to the mother. And the child should attach well, nurturing, and and that includes food, emotion, everything. So there is a video I'm going to show you. It does have a lot of religious, not a lot, but there's some religious like language in there. If you're not religious, it's okay. You don't have to worry about the religious language in the captions. What I want you to focus on in the video that we go over is the facts, the research, the psychology, the biology, the biological research, the psychological research, and the sociological research. So let's go ahead without further ado, and I'll start sharing this video. And of course, I'm going to stop it and do some commentary as we go. So please remember to hit the like, and let's go ahead and do that. Can you hear it okay? Put a 1 in the chat if the audio is okay for you. So y'all cannot hear it, right? Okay, thank you. I'm going to have to go back. Thank you for letting me know. Peace. Thank you, Danielle. War 77 and Chat Lives Matter. Let me go back. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't share audio. Let me make sure I do that next time. Okay, share audio. And let's try this again. Please let me know if the volume is okay. How's the audio? Can you hear it now? One in the chat. Yes, thank you, Primordial. I won't get a copyright strike for this because believe it or not, this is my video I made like in 2017 when I was a super radical religious Hebrew Israelite. So all the religious stuff that you might see and sprinkled in there, you could disregard that. But there's still the science and it's great information. But could you hear, put a one if you could hear that music, that guitar. Could you hear? You can't hear the video. Okay. No, I'm not playing it right now. Could you hear it before? Let me play it and see if you can hear. Because I want to mute out. I want to make sure you're not just hearing it from my end. Could you hear the video with the guitar? Put a one in the chat if you could hear the guitar before. Let me mute out and play it some more. Okay, so I'm seeing you can't hear the video there. I'm just going to go onto the YouTube channel. I have it on my laptop, but I'm going to go to the actual YouTube channel. One monkey don't stop no show. Phineas. Okay, Phineas. Yeah, it's on a channel that I have. So, okay, so let me go straight to the channel. Please hit the like. Thank you for joining. Please share if it's interesting to you. I will get it now. If you can't hear from the YouTube channel, I don't know what to say. But it might have been my player. Okay. Just let me find it. Okay. It's 9:15 over here, and these children are outside playing and having a great time. But anyway, let's see here. Here it is. Found it. Okay. Let me stop right there. Sunnetter. Sunnetter. Hi, you're live. You know we're live right now.
Yeah, I don't want you playing no video off of a YouTube.
It's my channel.
It's on your channel?
Yep. It's my video.
All right.
You want to stay or go? You can do either one. I'm going to go ahead and play it. Anyway, like I said, let's go ahead and watch this video. Here it is. Okay. All right. Now, hopefully you can hear it now. Let me go in. Make sure you can hear it. Again, if you cannot hear, Peace Barn Dog. If you can't hear it, let me know. But if you can hear it, put a 1 in the chat. I'm going to play it right now. Peace to Hootie. Can you hear it now? You hear the guitar? Great, you can hear it. Thank you, Tahuti. Please hit the like. Okay, if you can't hear it, let me know, but it should be fine now.
Loneliness.
Embarrassment. No regard to social status. Neglect. Child abuse. Don't pretend you don't see it. If you know a child that is a victim of abuse, please contact 855-4LAK.
I said I'm going to be pausing for commentary, so okay. By the way, the link should be somewhere for you to, if you want to join in a minute. I just want to get through a little bit of this. Here's the link if you want to join. You do need to turn your camera on. So what you just saw is just, it was a PSA from 2016. This is when I actually produced this video. And the PSA talked about, obviously, child abuse. There's different forms. And if you notice at the end, the older child, you notice that she was clearly not even barely a teenager. She was about a teenager. What happens in these households is the older child is parentified, and that is inappropriate responsibility put onto the older child to care for, of course, their sibling who they love. And you see her taking the food out of her purse. You can just imagine she doesn't have money. Or if it was a boy, he wouldn't have money. What does he do? He resorts to crime, stealing food for his little brothers and sisters and for himself or herself. So this is what is very common amongst, first, our people, which is people, the progeny, that the descendants of slaves, African slave trade, but also in Hispanic and Native American families. So yes, this is a channel that talks, it's B1, but we're going to talk about all children, and even, yes, impoverished white children. So we're talking about children, and we're talking about male and female family dynamics. B1, but we're talking about everybody, okay? So as you saw, the very sad reality is that the older child's parentified, and you know what happens too? That older child, when he or she grows up, resents parenting. I want you to keep that in mind. Because we ask, why do these men leave, or why do these women don't want to take care of their children? They resent parenting because they were that responsibility is put on them, even if it's not explicitly said, you got to take care of your brother or sister. They have a loving heart. They don't want to see their little brother or sister suffer. I did want to talk about that and put that in there. And let's continue. Now, this part will be kind of low. I'm sorry, the audio, but if you turn your volume up a little, it'll be great. This is going to give you a breakdown on attachment and neglect. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. Thank you so much for joining. Please hit the like and share. Here we go.
Child's needs can stem from caretakers putting their own needs ahead of the child, or simply lacking parenting skills. A crying infant may be attempting to communicate many things, but it requires a caretaker to receive.
See how she's not reaching down and grabbing the baby?
Neglectful parents may be simply unaware, for example, that an infant needs to be fed frequently, and may not know what to feed the infant if breastfeeding becomes difficult. Adding solid foods to the infant's diet may prove to be a challenge to many parents. This is particularly true in the case of parents who are unstable, mentally ill, or are low mentally functioning. The most serious lack of parenting skills is often the simple failure to understand that emotional nurturing is as essential as food, clothing, and medical care. For an infant denied affection and nurturing, this may easily lead to a failure to thrive. As with physical abuse, there are a number of forms of neglect, though they can be broadly classified as two major types. Physical neglect is a failure to provide basic necessities such as food, clothing, shelter, and medical care. For an older child, this can also include failure to provide appropriate supervision and education. Another broad form of neglect is emotional neglect.
Yeah, I can see that. What I need is dinner right now.
This is a failure to provide the support or affection necessary to a child's psychological and social development.
Look at him. He's not, that's not normal for a child.
New developments tonight. 2 parents charged with child abuse, and detectives say they're the ones who left their 11-month-old alone in the bathtub. Thanks for choosing us. I'm Katie Rammel.
And I'm Steve Urban. Tonight, we learn the reason they say they were distracted. ABC 15's Adam Slinger is live with how the boy was rescued.
Investigators say it was the baby's 4-year-old sister who woke her parents up and told them that the child was still in the bathtub. Tempe police tell us that the parents put the baby in here because he had dirtied his diaper. They unplugged the drain, turned the faucet on, and left the baby alone. And that faucet ran for an hour and 15 minutes.
Days in Tempe.
The manager at the Days Inn was one of the first to see the baby out cold and barely breathing.
He was purple and his eyes were rolled back. He wasn't responding at anything.
The 11-month-old boy is the son of these two, 23-year-old Summer Angeli and 28-year-old Jason Anchondo.
The mother came in here. She couldn't speak.
The couple told the cops they were staying here because they had just moved from California with their 4 little kids. On August 5th, one of their 11-month-old twin boys dirtied the very last diaper. So detectives tell us the parents put the baby in the tub and flipped the faucet on.
I really don't know what happened in there.
Cops say the couple walked out of the bathroom to argue about calling a relative to borrow cash to buy more diapers. After the argument, mom and dad went back to bed. Police.
So I want to jump in right here. I'm just showing a little bit of this. You're not going to have to watch the entire video. If you want, I could drop in a link. But you see, they neglected the baby because what? They were arguing about not having diapers. They didn't have any money, but they neglected the children. There is something else I wanted to show you about the science. I'm going to skim through this video. It's pretty long, but so you see, here's some information on the epigenetic coding. Again, don't worry about the captions. Don't worry about the captions. Just, I want you to hear this. I can't leave this part out. And then I'm going to open the panel and let people come in and have a discussion about it. The lack of secure attachment, the ACEs. I'm going to show you what ACEs are. This is stuff you need to know. So we saw this lack of secure attachment with the mothers and the neglect, and then even the parents and neglect. Now we're going to look at the genetic DNA, the epigenetic coding of trauma. Not just slave trauma is coded. The trauma from childhood is also coded. So let's listen to this.
That painful day is still remembered by the Lakota people, as are the promises made by the U.S. government that have not been kept.
So this is talking about the epigenetic coding. They found that, let me go back a little and I can read it. I know you saw the caption, but let me read it. Researchers have found that certain genetic markers are altered by traumatic experiences. This is very important because this is some of the reasons of the whys of why we continue generational curses, right? Epigenetic change. By looking at the genes,
we already know that this is a gene that contributes to risk for depression and post-traumatic stress disorder.
Trauma changes the gene of an individual, but it doesn't stop there.
When we looked at their own children, Their children also had an epigenetic change in the same spot on a stress-related gene.
Since DNA is passed from parents to children, then this research suggests that traumatic life experiences can have an effect on the offspring at the genetic level. So that means even the trauma that you experience in childhood is encoded in your DNA, and then it's passed down to your offspring. Very, very crucial information. Can that be how do you say, not ameliorated, I guess, but can that be repaired? Yes, but it takes generations to repair it. So to reverse it, this is very much what's going on with us. The childhood trauma cycles actually into your DNA and cycles into your children. For example, the trauma resulting from transatlantic slave trade, that's one huge trauma that keeps cycling.
We're talking about multiple traumas for hundreds of years. Not only are you traumatized directly, you're seeing your friends, your cousins, and everyone in your environment being beaten, sold away from family, raped, mutilated, all those things that were happening. And eventually, of course, lynched. But looking at those traumas, is it plausible that those people escaped stress-related illness? Not plausible.
White supremacy affects Black
Promises that
areas.
include.
So, okay, let me get some feedback here. So you tapped into another channel, okay. So as you see, what she just said, Karen Nee Rose said, why was I just looking up videos of mothers killing their babies? Yes, that is something we're going to talk about here. I have that already in the silo, ready to read some articles. But let's talk about what Dr. Joy DeGree just pointed out, and the scientist, the Dr. Yehuda. Where's the trauma gone? We continue to cycle it. We just continue to cycle it back. Unless we start to educate ourselves like we're doing now and say, oh, so Black people, the progeny of African slaves, they're not just innately, well, it is innately, right? Because genetics, but they're just not at their core from the beginning of time. Bad parents, abusive, violent, unmotivated, insecure, apathetic. No, it's all encoded in from the trauma in the DNA. Is that the only thing that makes us makes us do things, like fratricide, soricide, filicide? No, that's not the only thing, but it's a huge part because we're talking about biology. Well, you have to see the study shows that, Joe Ian. You can hit the link if you want to turn your camera. If you have some other information that says otherwise, you can join. So I just want to move through. So we see that we have the epigenetic coding. We know that secure attachment, the lack of, is part of why we have so many damaged, dysfunctional individuals. Now let's take a look at something about ACEs. Let me get to the psychology. Oh, this is important here too. I want you to see this research. I'm almost done showing you the research, and then we can have the discussion. Okay. Let me get this right here. Okay.
No.
So this is the Center on the Developing Child at Harvard University, National Scientific Council on the Developing Child. In brief, the science of neglect. Neglect is extremely devastating on the architecture, the scaffolding, I call it, of the neurological system of the child, and then, of course, of the adult.
Everyone in a community has a vested interest in everyone else's children, because everyone else's children determine the next adult population that makes for a successful society. Built into our biology is the need to have responsive interactions with adults.
Neglect for children is when they don't get what the brain is expecting to get, what the child is expecting to get, what we are biologically prepared and waiting for, which is input from those around us.
It's this back and forth serve and return interaction that literally shapes the architecture of the brain.
Serve and return begins when a child looks at something or observes something, makes an utterance, and that represents the serve. And the return is when the parent notices the child doing these things and responds to the child.
Under conditions where serve and return is broken, you literally are pulling away what is the essential ingredient of the development of human brain architecture.
It was a really compelling series of experiments where they started by videotaping the mother and the baby engaging in cooing and smiling. And then they asked the mother to basically put on a blank face and not respond at all. When a baby is not attended to, that is a sign of danger to the baby biologically. So the stress systems become activated.
In a brain that is constantly bathed in stress hormones, not that's up and down, that comes with normal development, certain key synapses, the connections between nerves, fail to form, and critical regions of the brain.
So neglect both fails to provide the stimulation that's needed to develop the basic architecture, and when it's at a certain level, is one of the most potent activators of the stress biology of a young child. So you get a double whammy.
Science points to 4 categories of this spectrum of neglect. The first category would be what's called occasional inattention, where children experience responsiveness most of the time, but occasionally adults don't respond. There's no harm in that, and in fact, there's probably some benefit.
A child can learn to self-soothe and explore the environment, and all of those opportunities build brain architecture.
Okay, so you're hearing them talk about brain architecture. I'm sorry I was muted. The reason I keep muting is because I keep getting a phone call. So then I forget to unmute. I want to go back to, thanks a lot, guys. I'm just going to stay unmuted and hopefully I'll just mute my phone out so I won't get any more phone calls. It's so weird. Whenever I go live, I get 100 phone calls. Okay, I wanted you to focus on, and I have to drag it back. I know this isn't so exciting as, you know, finding out, are we the real Hebrew Israelites and things like that. But these are the keys to us healing our minds, okay? This is what we will know about ourselves as people. It's fun to say, you know, have the religious debates. But let's talk about what's going on and what happened is Dr. Shahrazad Ali, she prompted me or motivated me to bring this back out because we need to talk about why there's so many sick people. Hey, Tahuti, I'm gonna let you come up, but then I'm gonna just say come up and say hi. But then I'm gonna finish this. How are you, brother? You're muted. I'm just gonna continue with this stream. Thank you for hitting the link. Is there something you wanted to say? You're muted.
There we go. I just wanted to come on and say, hey, I seen you streaming. This is some powerful stuff you're showing, like these relationships with the kids and the parents, like this interaction that, you know, that shit was powerful. Like, I mean, it was hitting. So I'm gonna just continue. I'm watching. You know, I'm always gonna support. You know, I'm here. So yeah, do your thing.
Sonetta are out.
Peace, Sonetta.
Yeah. And Tootie, yeah. So keep watching. Thank you so much for your support. And I'm gonna play a little bit more information. Sarah was muted, you guys. But yeah, I am gonna let everybody come up and do to have some conversations, but I want to cover these key elements so we can discuss this with information involved. Thank you so much, Tahuti. Much love to you, brother. So yes. So I wanted to point out what that doctor said about the neglect of when she said the stress bathes the mind. You heard her say, if it continuously, the biology continuously is in the bathing the mind, the whole body, what happens is you start to damage. You actually damage the developing mind, those synapses, you know, the neurology. So let me just scroll back a little bit because I know you want to hear it. And I just wanted to point that out, how crucial it is what she said. Okay, so let's get it right here. And you see how stressed out that baby is? Just from the mother. Now imagine how so many babies get treated like that on a regular. Mother doesn't respond.
When a baby is not attended to, that is a sign of danger to the baby biologically. So the stress systems become activated.
In a brain that is constantly bathed in stress hormones, not that's up and down, that comes with normal development. Certain key synapses, the connections between nerves, fail to form, and critical regions of the brain.
So neglect both fails to provide the stimulation that's needed to develop the basic architecture, and when it's at a certain level, is one of the most potent activators of the stress biology of a young child. So you get a double whammy.
Science points to 4 categories of this spectrum of neglect. The first category would be what's called occasional inattention, where children experience responsiveness most of the time, but occasionally adults don't respond. There's no harm in that, and in fact, there's probably some benefit.
A child can learn to self-soothe.
You can't hear the video?
Explore the environment, and all of those opportunities build brain architecture.
The second category, scientists would call chronic understimulation.
Are you having, can you guys hear the video? Let me know.
Children have less interaction with the adults around them than is needed for healthy development.
Those children typically, when provided with enriched learning opportunities and more typical levels of serve and return, will show catch-up.
The third category is what science would call severe neglect in a family where not only are there prolonged periods of inattention and lack of responsiveness, but often also associated with not being fed enough, not being bathed enough, not having basic needs met.
Neglect is a huge problem in the U.S. Children are much more likely to be neglected than they are to experience any other kind of maltreatment.
We see the child really being at risk for much more substantial kinds of deficits down the road that don't necessarily get easily fixed or ameliorated. This is where we really need to think about more complicated and often more intensive strategies to help undo those effects.
The fourth category, called severe neglect, generally found in institutional settings, is the result of children living in kind of warehoused type situation in orphanages.
And it doesn't have to even be as extreme as orphanages. It can be experiences that are regretfully occurring in many, many parts of our country.
Often institutional care in this country is under the euphemistic name of transitional care or temporary care or assessment facilities.
If you think about what institutional or residential care would look like for an infant, where there's somebody new coming onto the shift every 8 hours, it really alters the development of the child's brain architecture and other aspects of the child's development.
Well, greetings. My name is Lennon On. I want to greet you with lots of love, peace, and positivity as usual. Welcome to my YouTube page. The topic for this video is how to heal subconscious trauma.
Okay. All right. So as you saw, that part where they discuss the science behind the mind. I do want to talk about mothers and filicide, but I think it's best like if you want, we can just go ahead and build off of that. We can talk about the secure attachment, how it affects how neglect is a part of lack of secure attachment. Secure attachment is very crucial to the development of the minds. I say this over and over and over, that the reason we have so many dysfunctional people amongst all Americans, all people in the United States, I'm focusing on the United States and the West, but especially Black people, Native American people, Latinos, it's because of lack of secure attachment. Neglect is behind that. Malnourishment, epigenetic trauma coded into the DNA that keeps cycling. So it's very important that we understand where the trauma and where the mental illness is coming from. The mental illness that we see all the time, especially in YouTube, the mental illness of all these people getting on the internet, talking about each other, the mental illness where we see not even people just talking about each other, but people wanting to lead, and they're saying, don't be with men, leave men alone. Men are a virus from another planet. All of this mental illness comes from childhood. Now, there was someone in the chat saying, Joe, he said he doesn't really go for all that DNA information. It's not just about DNA, but that is a crucial part, because first we're talking about the trauma, and then the trauma's encoded in the DNA, and the trauma cycles back into the next generation. So it's 100% facts, but we do want to focus on the mind, the lack of secure attachment, and the stress, which is, it all equals trauma. I was going to show you something about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and everybody has ACEs, every human being. However, some have higher ACE rating or ACE levels, or it's a rating number, than others. And you know who has the highest? Black Americans, African Americans, if we're talking about in the United States. They've got the highest ACEs. Adverse childhood experiences can be divorce. It can be poverty, like hunger and homelessness. It can be a parent who has mental illness. It can be a parent who has a drug addiction or an addiction to alcohol. So all of these ACEs, all of these experiences that you have in childhood, you score in a sense, and they affect you later on in life. They affect your health. They can increase your probability of developing hypertension. They can increase your risk of developing diabetes. This is all because of bad parenting amongst our people. So, I don't know if you, I know a lot of you understand, but I don't think many Black people put it together that how you raise your child, not just like the best schools, but how you interact with your small child determines how that person will be when that person becomes an adult. This topic is very crucial, Carnell Hicks, for building an open and safe relationship with our children as they get older. Yes. And it is, thank you for that comment. And it also is very crucial to what type of people we're going to have living amongst us. What kind of environment do we have for ourselves? When you have children being neglected at a young age and they've never been securely attached, they're not going to have the ability. It's not just that they won't be compassionate. Their mind won't even allow them to be compassionate. That's the scary part. And these women, I'm going to start with the women because they're the mothers. The women who are damaged, who are not securely attached, they go on to kill their children. They go on to commit what we call filicide, and they also go on to commit feticide. We have a high level of women killing children not only in the womb. We have the highest abortion rate as far as Black people. Yes, we do. There were some Black women trying to wiggle their way out of that, but no, we have the highest rate of abortion. But we also have so many women, not just Black, so many women killing children in daycare. And so the sister she said that I'm going to stop sharing this. She said she was just looking in YouTube and she saw, all of the women killing their babies. But I'm going to show you, when you type in women killing, I'm typing it in right now, babies in daycare, and you enter it. Let me see if I can screen share this so you just won't think I'm making it up. Let me show you what's going on here. All right. I think it's this one. Yes. So I just typed in, if you see right there, women killing big babies in daycare. Let's search that. Let's see this. British nurse Lucy Letby in prison for life murders in 7 babies attempted murder. Okay, that's this nurse. Daycare worker accused of murder after unintentionally causing death of sleeping infant. 5 charged with child abuse after Mississippi daycare scare. Okay, should kill. Okay, they're talking about this latest thing 6 days ago with this lady killing children as a nurse. But let's scroll past her story. This is let's see, the teen accused of dumping dead baby. That happens a lot too. Young women having their babies and dumping them. But let's keep going and find the daycare. Babysitter charged in murder of baby, also accused of running illegal daycare. Florida daycare worker arrested after video appears to show her abusing babies. I mean, do you see what I'm saying? This is so common. Baby killer. This is another one. Babysitter accused of killing baby and giving his body back to the child's mother. Ex-Sumter daycare worker charged with hitting, throwing a 5-year-old child. How can you not notice 8 bites? Family alleges toddler's injury occurred at daycare. I mean, should I keep reading? Should I? Daycare worker discusses terrifying moments before man killed. Well, that's something else. Man killed a woman. But what'll happen is somebody will hear that a man killed a woman out of all of these dozens and dozens of daycare killer stories and say, see, the man is killing women all the time. No, it's really a problem. So when I talk about insecure or the lack of secure attachment, we're also talking about we're talking about women and how they developed to be so cold that for whatever reason, not only are they killing these babies, they're going to get jobs, specific jobs that say you're going to take care of children. They're passing all the examinations, all of the background checks. They're passing, but they're still abusing and killing children in daycare. And why? Because of what's going on with their minds. All right, I'm going to read an article to you. I'm moving away from that. So these aren't even their children. The children that we're discussing, these aren't even their children. These are children that they were hired to take care of. I'm going to show you a story. Not a story. Actually, it is in psychiatric news, and it is a story, but it's a background on women killing their children, parents killing their children. It's called filicide. But this is about a woman killing her children, and we hear these stories all the time. Now, I know you guys have heard about Princella. She calls herself a queen maker, and she says men are innately biologically evil. So I don't believe that, and I know you don't either. However, when I read these articles, some people will say, well, it's post-traumatic stress. That's biology. So we can't just excuse it, right? So these women, for some reason, saying that God's telling them to kill their babies, or they're just getting some type of psychosis, and they're killing their children. So let me screen share this and you can read it. Okay, let's go ahead and present this. Share screen. Okay, Murder in Family, Psychiatric News, American Psychiatric Association. Near midnight on Friday in 2003, Texas Deanna Laney attempted to lock her sleeping husband in their bedroom. And these women are often planning the killings. It's not just like spur of the moment. So they're planning to kill their children, as you'll see. She then took her 8-year-old and her 6-year-old sons outside and killed them by bludgeoning them, beating them over the head with heavy rocks. She severely injured her toddler son in the same manner. So there were 3 boys. 2 of them died, the 8 and the 6-year-old. But the toddler didn't die. Up until then, she had been a loving mother to her sons. See that? Just out of the blue, right? Not really, but that's what the stories always tell us. Whom she had homeschooled. The deeply religious 39-year-old mother said she had been hearing the voice of God telling her that the apocalypse was near. Commanding hallucinations told her to kill her sons to prove her faith. In a nutshell, she blames God that's why she killed her children. So let's get down to and you know what? I'll leave the link for this. You can read it yourself. Let me read the different types of filicide. Filicide is killing your children. In 1969, Philip Resnick, MD, reviewed the world literature and categorized 5 motives of parents who kill. Women are killing their children more than men are, by the way. I can get those statistics for you. The first motive is altruistic filicide. This is murder out of love, regardless of whether it is in the context of psychosis. The loving parent believes that the child is better off dead, either because that parent is planning to die by suicide and would not leave the child abandoned in the world, or because that parent believes the child is going to suffer. For example, because a psychotic belief that the child would be kidnapped or tortured. And an acutely psychotic filicide is distinction occurs when psychotic parents kill with no comprehensible non-psychotic motive. So this is the second one. This is the third one. In unwanted child cases, the murdered child is seen as a hindrance to the parent's goals or desires. So, such as to marry someone who doesn't want children. Who does that sound like? Especially the last one. Does that sound like our women who say, I don't want to have this child? I've spoken to many women who said, I don't want this child. The dad isn't with me. He doesn't want the child. I don't want to be a single mother. And they do the abortion. So clearly, it's not just about Black women, they just like to kill children more. We're going back to the trauma, and we're going back to the biology of the genetic encoding of the trauma, which cycles in generations, and also childhood trauma. So what we're doing is you're impacting generational trauma. You're impacting the trauma that's already been inherited. Yeah, it is very sad, Tahuti. Let me see what Melcon Huger says. Melcon Huger says, he says, it may from abuse as they were a child and other circumstances of having them killing children. This America society is becoming very complex for women to comprehend dealing with everyday life. Yeah, there's a lot of psychosis involved, and that is true. A lot of it is they don't want the burden of the child. We have a high abortion. I think, what was it now? 300,000 babies aborted, Black babies aborted in 2019. Let me get that information. So, and it all goes back to not just about dysfunction. It goes back to the childhood trauma, the lack of secure attachment, the way the brain has been wired, and that compiles what has already been inherited through DNA. Okay, so let's see, abortion rate. I haven't checked it this year, so we'll see. But that's what I really wanted to share. I know there are a lot of cool things to talk about, but after talking to Sister Shahrazad Ali, I was very much compelled to give you this information. And what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Keep on acquired childhood experiences, ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. Yes, Juju, thank you. Thank you for adding that. What are we going to do about it besides say we want the children to be taken care of? We hear all these people talking about, protect the children, and I heard the children are at risk, and somebody's trying to do this and that to the children. But the statistics show that we're not taking care of the children. We're not. We're not even taking care of the children. I've seen, I'm not going to call her name, the woman who says she's correcting women's lives. I've seen her daughter roaming around in the background while she's cursing and talking about the D word and the MF, and her small child is roaming around in the background. That's neglect. That's neglect. Am I saying that you can't be working or doing your career and have small children? You can, but it's a sticky situation. You're going to have to make a lot of sacrifices. The child will be poorly developed psychologically, mentally, if that child does not get full on secure attachment from age 0, from in the womb, to age 5. So this is facts. Thank you, Juju. Thank you for your input. Yes, Juju, Julanda. So there's a lot of research. There's tons of information out. You can always find out what's going on with the children. We want to advocate for children. I know most of us do. We want to understand why are we suffering so much? Well, all you have to do is look at some of the research. Look at what's going on. What the information I just presented tonight. You can go read up on Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris, Dr. Joy Degree, Dr. Frances Cress-Welsing. There are so many resources. Like I said, I love to talk about, do the Bible debates and all that. But at the end of the day, it's not about the Bible. It isn't. It isn't about religion. It's about, like Dr. Shahrazad Ali said tonight, she said, we always say the children are our future, but we don't really, what are we doing? What are we doing for the children? What are we doing for the children? Are we pointing out, wait, your child is your child's home all the time while you're out partying? Oh, and there was another article I wanted to read you. It's just some information on neglect. I wonder if any of you ever stopped. Some of you don't have children, so fair enough. But do you know what the definition legally of neglect is? Because a lot of people don't know. I was going to get the abortion rate, but let me just get back to, I want to read this thing about neglect. This is averyhouse.com. Random article, but it's not just at Avery House. You can find it anywhere. Under federal law, and depending on the laws and child protective policies in your state, leaving a young child unsupervised may be considered neglect. Who knows that? How many people have left their children because they have to work or because they want to go party? How many people do you know? And be honest, you don't have to say, but think about it. Amongst our people, how many people do you know leaving their child at home? 8 years old is too young to be left at home by yourself. Sorry. People think, no, that's fine. No, it isn't fine. How many latchkey children are going in the house after school by themselves and then taking care of younger children? How many people are going on trips and leaving their 12-year-old or 13-year-old to take care of smaller children? A lot. Yes, a lot. A lot of, I'm talking to my people, a lot of Black women, especially. I'm saying Black women because the Black man isn't there, right? He's left already. So a lot of Black women and I could say, oh yeah, I get it. She wants a break, but that's not how you take a break. You don't leave your children alone at home. Now, some people might have a different opinion about it, but that's my take on it. You do not leave your children home alone. Even if in your state, I'll take a step further. It says, some states, I think it is in Texas, don't quote me, I think it's 11. That's too young to be left home alone. Okay. There's different ages for different states. Some states are 14, 13. That's too young to be left home alone for days. Yes, even for hours, latchkey children. When you have a child who, put it this way, we talk about institutionalization. That was on the clip where the woman said that is a way to affect a child's development, neurological development, institutionalization. We think, orphanages. No. If you really look at it, schools, if you have a child, you get that child up at 5 a.m, drop the child off at school at 6 for the breakfast program early morning. Then you don't pick that child up from school till after school care because you're working. Let me just take that back. You don't even pick the child up from school. They have after school care. And then there's some type of transportation that brings the child home. That child goes into the house. You don't get off work till about 5 or 6. You get home about 7-ish. That child has gone from 6 a.m., say, to 6 p.m., 12 hours in the institutional system. Dr. Shahrazad Ali was saying how she says, we're the only people who give our children to she says, the enemy to raise them. Now, what happens with these systems is they fill the schools up with people who look like me and like you, especially women. You know, there are male teachers, of course. There are a lot of Black male teachers. There are a lot of Black women, female teachers, right? So we think, oh, well, they can't just do the child like they want. They have to follow the rules of the institution. They might not even agree with it, but they have to follow the rules of the institution. So essentially, your child is institutionalized for 12 hours a day. And the rest of those other 12 hours, child is sleeping probably 7 to 8 hours. So we've got what, 4 or 5 hours of time that you have to interact with that child. And what are you doing during that time? Rushing around, trying to get your child ready to send them back to the institution. That's affecting our people. That's affecting the children. Peace, no saint. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You know, and what I was saying too, talking to no saint, it's not just we're saying, oh, only our people, but our people are the most affected, and then it trickles down to everybody. It's not, this is what people don't understand. When I say they, I mean other people in society say, oh, well, they're just doing that to the Black kids. Now we have a boy crisis of all races, and especially young white boys are, for whatever reason that I haven't done all the in-depth research as far as comparing Black boys to white boys, but the young white boys are the non-Blacks, usually Caucasian boys, are taking it out in a violent way with what? You know what? The school, you know what's bang bangers, SHOOTERS. They're going to the schools and they're doing that. They're taking their neglect and their anger and frustration out because of the system, because of institutionalization. Now, as far as getting back to little Black boys, what's happening with them is they're shooting each other. Ooh, I don't know if I could say that on here. They're taking their anger out by unaliving each other in the community. Oh, you stepped on my shoes. Oh, I heard you on the Instagram talking mess, stuff like that. Really trivial things. And it all goes back to lack of interaction, neglect. Do you remember when we used to have we still do have it, but the Big Brother and the Big Sister programs, that's not even, I don't hear a lot about that anymore. But there was a great effort made for children to get attention. And now we went from, television to, with the children programming, to now we have just children on their phones with social media all the time. And it's desensitizing them to things like being compassionate about death, about people getting injured, hurt. It's all funny. It's all funny, and it's all for sensation. Like, wow, did you see that guy's head blow up? Stuff like that. So we really are not. I don't know what we're going to do about the children. We have our males, Black males, in the manosphere, and all these men going their own way groups saying, don't be a stepfather. They're saying, don't be a stepfather. Telling men, you shouldn't be a stepfather to that child. If she has a child, leave her alone. That they're telling people not to interact with children who are fatherless. They're instructing men to do this, Black men. So there's a real problem there. If you're not going to help raise them because they're neglected as males, How are you going to ask to be leaders? How are we going to make you leaders if you don't even want to take on the responsibility of, yes, mentoring, being the father figure, raising other people's children, because it takes a village. I know that's a cliche, but it does take a village to raise children. And especially with the boys and the girls, we need male presence, and we have a lack of that. So I'm going from, the psychology, and we're moving into more of like, the sociological side of it. What's happening with us? And a lot of women are resentful. A lot of men are resentful. They are upset. What are they doing? They're starting with the couple. Oh, well, I don't want to be with men anymore. Men, I don't want to be with the Black woman anymore. Come on, guys. Let's go ruin the lives of the Chinese ladies. I mean it. Like, come on. Brothers talking about, I'm divesting. I'm a passport bro. So now you want to go over to the DR where it's already, sorry, there's already men, there's Black men there living there, leaving their babies behind with these women. So I'd like to see who they have children. The women over there in the DR, they have babies. They have fatherless babies. So who are you going to go to? And have you noticed more white ladies with Black children and they're alone? Why? Because of the cycle of people are not able, they're not capable of having healthy relationships, male or female, because of lack of secure attachment. And then the recycling of the trauma going in, it's being, actually, I should say, the passing down of the trauma. The ACEs that are affecting people, the adverse childhood experiences that affect people later in life. It's a vicious cycle. So how do we undo it? How do we undo it? Well, one thing we don't do, we have to be realistic. One thing we don't do is try to target and attack one group. I can't say, oh, Black women are the only reason. It's the women's fault. Not even just Black women, all women. I can't say it's their fault. But they are first and foremost responsible for how this child turns out, first and foremost. Aside from the inherited genetics, aside from the inherited DNA, the mother, the woman, is first and foremost responsible. You have to choose the right man. You have to choose the right man. That he may not be the coolest guy, but if he seems like somebody, you say, okay, all the checklist for fatherhood is there. This guy values fatherhood. He values what's going to happen for children later in life. This guy doesn't want to see a child alone and suffering. This guy isn't about leaving his responsibilities behind. So you choose wisely. And then while you're pregnant, you keep yourself as far away from stress as possible. Easier said than done because, women are working. It's tough out here with the economy. However, you have to find a way to work, but always prioritize the health, the well-being of your unborn child. Then once the child is born, I'm an advocate for more breastfeeding stations in workplaces, more maternity leave time, more bring your child to work. In the 60s, when the feminists were somehow, it said they were looking out for women, nobody was trying to fight for children in the workforce. It hasn't even sufficiently been pushed. There are like groups, like little groups that I'm in. And when I say little, we're not well known and nationwide. And I can't really mention on YouTube everything I'm involved in just for protection. But if you're interested, Tahuti, if you could put my information in the chat. If you're interested in information like that, I can definitely point you in the right direction, but I digress. So there should be more. Feminists should have fought for motherhood. Wouldn't you have thought that? Wouldn't you have thought that women would have fought for first and foremost motherhood? No. They supposedly were fighting for their rights to work. Rights to work? You mean, who's going to stay with the children? You mean leave the child? No rights for, I want to come to work with my child. There has to be a daycare within the in the workplace. Just like you have a break room, just like you have a lounge, I want a mother's lounge with daycare for children from ages 0 to 5. That would be great, right? We don't have enough of that. There are workforces, new age places. I don't even think like Amazon or anything like that, but places that are new, and they do have certain things like breastfeeding station. But we need more than that. You need to be able to have your children present in the workforce, and it is possible because a lot of these jobs, they're not for a lot of the jobs that women take are clerical. They are not jobs that require, how do you say? Yes, there are factory workers that are women, but most of these jobs that women have are clerical or office jobs. So I just wanted to touch on that because, yeah, we need more secure attachment. We need the children to be with the mothers need to be with the children and attentive. Did you see that baby having a meltdown just from the mama not even responding? Imagine on a like at the first of the video when the baby was crying, the mother didn't even reach down. And I get their stress. I get there's like we said, there's mental illness, psychopathy, also things like that. But we need to, for the most part, we need to focus on secure attachment and being present as parents. Joe E says, I have heard 51% of Black males are childless. I'm not sure how true that is. Well, if childless means that he has children somewhere and he's not with them, I could believe that statistic. Oh, thank you, No Saint. Thank you. So yeah, I don't know about 51% being childless because why are there Black women with children from Black men? I don't know the statistics, but that seems kind of high. Seems kind of high to me. So yeah, I've been going for an hour and about almost 20 minutes. I did one, like I said, I wanted to bring this out. This is the first time that I've gone live on the House of Consciousness. I'm hoping to go live a little bit earlier. I'm going to actually not hope. I'm going to go live earlier and more often so I can start getting, the audience. I will do things on religion, my background. I love doing the Bible. But as I said, speaking to Dr. Shahrazad Ali today, I felt it was important to really talk about secure attachment, talk about ACEs a little bit, and just talk about what's going on and why we have so many children who are neglected and then they develop into dysfunctional, as Princella says, degenerate adult males and adult females. So, okay, let me see. Juju says, these are some of the discussions that should be had. Yes, 100%. Thank you so much, Juju. Yes. And so if you don't have any other questions, or I appreciate your comments. I don't want to make this long, but I want to make it strong. Please hit the like. If this helped you, share it. Go do your research on it. And muy importante, claro que sí. We're going to have to do is practice our Spanish over here. Okay. Yeah. So anybody, if you want to come in, I'm about to close out. If you want to come in and say, your piece, or yeah, I heard this, or maybe you don't agree. I'm going to give you, I'll wait like another 3 minutes. And while we're waiting, I wonder if I could just show you. Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to show you the part of that video where he talks about ACEs. Should I close out with that? I want to close out with the ACEs. This video may not be the most exciting, but I want you to have this information. So I'm going to go back in and close out with the part where The man explains ACEs. Now, I see Juju knows what ACEs are, but some people are not aware of what ACEs actually are. So I want to let you know so you can do your research. We all have experienced ACEs. And then that'll tell you, like, oh, this is why Black people have the highest rate of hypertension. You know, this is why Black people are the sickest. There's a link. There's 100% a link. So let me get this. I'm going to go back to this video that I just was sharing and see if I can find. We talked about ACEs. Let me see. Oh, you know what I wanted to show you? Oh, I got to show you guys this about cardiovascular. I'm sorry about the captions. I was tripping back then. Let me show you this. Okay. I need to show you this. I would be remiss. I might as well. Okay. I was going to show you about ACEs, but I want to show you about the insecure attachment. I call it insecure, but the lack of secure attachment and how the neglect affects the body. The captions that you're going to see, all the writing, I used to not be able to speak because I was supposed to be Hebrews women. You don't show yourself. So I was writing like whole pages on the video, and they didn't know that it was a woman. They thought it was a man. Yes, that's what used to happen, y'all. When I did this video back in 2016, I was like, they were thinking it was a man named Phineas the Zealot. You see that? But anyway, that's a whole different story, different topic. But I want you to listen and watch what the scientists are saying about how the stress affects the body. And you will be able to link it and say, oh my God, that's why we're sick. I'm going to show you this part that I have queued up. And then I'm going to go back and show you the ACEs part, which both of them link back to hypertension, diabetes. You're going to see it's really phenomenal. I mean, when I say phenomenal, it's really not phenomenal because they've figured out why. It's really remarkable. So hold on.
Families are referred to us when the parents have had very difficult childhoods themselves and are really struggling in this role of being a parent.
Like I said, I never had a mommy. I was never taught how to take care of anybody or myself. So it was like very hard. Like I wouldn't have patience, like
You hear her?
crying, like I would, scream at her and stuff like that, And
For many parents who really were neglected as children, hearing a baby cry triggers in them their own feelings of that unrelenting crying that they did. So for Pearl, it was very, very difficult for her to be able to meet her child's needs.
You know, I got to get in here. Did you hear that? Yes, Juju, you heard that. She was neglected. Then she started to yell. But what I love about this beautiful sister, she said, no, I got to go get some help on this. So yes, this is amazing. Keep listening, please. Thank you so much for being here. Let me go ahead and play it. I just had to jump in because that was, you heard it. It's a cycle.
Push this button. Yeah, hard. Push it.
We've partnered with the Center for Attachment Research at the new school for a series of attachment measures to test that our intervention is effective.
So come on in, Pearl. Let's give you a chair. So just put her down and let her have a go at whatever she wants to do in here. Okay? We measure the attachment relationship with a laboratory scenario that takes 20 minutes. The critical point is where the mother gets a cue to leave the room.
Bye, baby girl. See you later.
She's like, oh, hell
On the
no.
outside, like they're very independent and seem not to notice, but physiologically are very aroused and stay aroused even in the presence of when that caregiver returns.
By contrast, the securely attached child often notices, cries when the caregiver leaves, and when the caregiver comes back, easily turns to the caregiver and looks to the caregiver to be comforted, and then they can get back to some kind of homeostasis.
Okay, you play with them.
Hold on. Right. Thank you so much. Hurt people do hurt people. Y'all saw that, what they said? Just that little bit. It doesn't take much. I want you to see what happened. It's so easy. This baby clearly is securely attached. That's what they're saying. Because you saw when the mom was walking out, she was already like, where do you think you're going? They can see the child securely attached. Even though this young woman said, I'm seeing that I'm angry, I didn't have love. See, she loves her baby. See, it's not impossible. She said, I need to go get some help for this. So what I want to point out is just, I want to drive home, even though you heard it, the baby got picked up and hugged, confirmation that the baby's loved. Get it? That's all it takes. That makes a healthy mind. That little bit, that little effort. Do you know how many children don't get that? It's just I'm sorry. I get emotional about it because it's just so easy just to pick the baby up. Mommy's here, and then put the baby down, let the baby get back to feeling good, and everything's fine. So let's go back into this.
We think this response is one of the hallmarks of mental health.
No.
Hallmarks of mental health.
What is so interesting about childhood development is that we know a lot about the long-term, lifelong consequences of early life adversity, ranging from psychological effects like substance abuse and depression, but also biological consequences like increased incidence of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and a whole host of other physical ailments. One of the things we know that can lead down the path towards cardiovascular disease is chronic inflammation. Inflammation is a biological response that helps the body counteract an infection. The body produces chemicals which activate the immune system and allow it to get rid of the infective agent when the infection is contained. The body calls forth cortisol to try to turn down the inflammation. Now, this is all good, but there are situations, especially connected with traumatic experiences, in which that cortisol response doesn't happen. So these people who had these adverse early life experiences had elevated levels of inflammation, which is at the heart of cardiovascular disease. So cortisol is very important.
That's my boy.
The way that we measure cortisol is through a saliva sample obtained upon arrival at the lab and at the end of the lab visit. And our goal is to, over time, impact patterns of cortisol.
Is that okay?
At our initial measurements of these families when they were beginning the intervention, we see very low levels of attachment security as measured by their behavior. But when we look at families who have participated for 6 months or more, we see attachment security at 70%, the same level seen worldwide.
There you go.
Because higher levels of attachment security correlate with more normal cortisol responses. We're hoping to see their cortisol levels change as a result of the intervention.
You laughing at mommy? Huh? You laughing at The main thing was it helped me a lot to focus on my child. You know, like before I couldn't tolerate the crying and it would make me crazy and I used to be depressed. But now, I mean, sometimes I can't take it, but you know I know better now.
What have we learned from the studies of early life adversity? What we've learned is to take it seriously, that these are real biological issues. That early attachment is vital to everything else that happens. Something that is an inevitable part of who we are as human beings.
I was on one back then. The last part that you read, just this is connect from that from what we're talking about. I mean, where I said that, you know, the single black mother, but that is real. But I want to talk to you. How do you feel? Peace, Greg Phillips. What is it just me? But who got emotional? Did you get it? I was holding back tears. I'm not gonna cry on the internet. Thank you, Greg. But you know, I was holding back tears. I don't know about you, Juju, and Tahuti, and everybody, Joe, and No Saint, and Greg. So, Peace Society commentary, commentare, commentare, société commentare. I like to say it how my grandmother would want me to say it. But anyway, I was holding back tears, y'all. Put a 1 in the chat if that moved you to almost just seeing the parents, black parents, loving and yeah, we do. I know we do it, but knowing that these are parents who were struggling with parenting, okay. And I know there were some, of course, I saw there was a white woman in there. So it's studies done on all people. But we know there is some serious generational recycling, passing down of this trauma. I was getting emotional. Yeah, thank you. It really, it really was to see her too. And then also I want to point this out. You notice and this is for all mothers, I'm not just saying black women, all women and men, but remember, mothers are the first line, and there's a lot of single mothers, right? When the baby keeps crying and that baby needs so much attention and she's stressed out, she's trying to recalibrate her hormones, her mind. I'm talking about because she's post-traumatic stress. I mean, postpartum. Okay. She's postpartum, and the stress and, the depression. They say depression and stress, but it's like everything's recalibrating in the body. She's very vulnerable. And then she's hearing that baby cry. I'm not saying it's right, but you see why there's a lot of mothers killing their babies, not just black mothers, across the board. Is it right? I'm not saying it's right, but if you look at mothers killing babies, you will most likely see that there is a child in there that's under 5 years old that she recently gave birth to. I'm not blaming I keep saying post-traumatic, postpartum depression or stress, but I'm letting you know, this is things that we have to get a handle on. I love that woman that, she said, I get stressed out, but now I know not to go, throw a baby against the wall. It happens. It happens. So yeah, me too. I cry at a drop of a dime every day, literally, when it comes to children. Yes, that's right, Juju. I'm like that too, because you understand how much dire need. We're in such dire need to do better for our children. So that was nice. I left that alone. That video is long. I go into talking about, the single mother family and my conspiracy theory. But yeah, I did want to show you that. I said that I was going to show you ACES. I don't know if y'all, it's pretty late. I mean, I might as well, right? Show you the ACES part. Let me do that. See, and then I'll say, okay, I put everything out there. Everybody can go do their research, or we'll talk about this more. I would love to have more. I want to get this off the screen real quick. That part. I want to just go to the part where the doctor talks about ACEs. Now you see all those captions I put on there. It's annoying. I'll say it for myself. Those captions are annoying. But that's the only way I could communicate back then with everybody. I wasn't allowed to talk on camera. Let's see here. I don't see it. Let me see. Is this it? There's a lot of scientists, a lot of psychologists and biologists going over this because, again, we're all human beings. Black people aren't the only ones that are messed up, so to speak, from not being securely attached. We're all human beings, and there's a lot of trauma that is happening to children. Here it is. I found it. Because of adverse childhood experiences, we can't help that, and because of the lack of secure attachment. I found it. Okay, I'm going to share, and this will be the last thing I share. All right, please hit the like button. Yeah, we will do this. Okay, here on the screen, you can see it says adverse childhood experiences, ACE. But when you say a bunch of them, we just say ACEs. Study assessed associations between childhood maltreatment and later life health and well-being. Oh my goodness, I gotta see you guys. I gotta look in the. Did you see that? You see that right there? It's not a myth. Like it's not a myth. It's not a phenomenon anymore that why black people have hypertension? Oh, because they like pork chops. No, everybody. There's a lot of white people who like baby back ribs and pork chops. Okay. There's a lot of Chinese people who like pork. It's something else. Does this mean that white people don't have ACEs? No, it doesn't. I keep repeating this, but it shows that we, especially because what we've come into, how we came into this society, our history. And then it just, we haven't even been able to take a breath. Like, okay, we got out of this. You can't heal from the trauma, the epigenetic post-traumatic slave syndrome. But when you keep on piling on, it's like a vicious cycle. Okay, the neglect, the lack of secure attachment. And that's because of the trauma encoded. So it's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? We're just rolling down the hill, snowballing, but we're going to get to the bottom of this because we can undo it. We can undo the trauma. You can't undo ACEs, but you can, how do you say, balance out with therapy ACEs. You're like, Napah, shut up and just play the video. Okay, I will. I'm going to play it, and I'm promising you I won't stop it no matter what happens. But I do want you to hear this. For those who don't know what ACE is. I will read this part though. Findings from the study suggest that certain experiences are major risk factors. I didn't break my promise because I'm just reading it. For many of the nation's worst health and social problems. Understanding the cause of these problems can help us prevent them. Really crucial.
What the ACE study did is it sought to take a look at how childhood experiences influence neurodevelopment, the adoption of health risk behaviors and risk factors for preventable diseases. We looked at 10 categories of adverse childhood experience. We looked at abuse, physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, childhood neglect, that included physical and emotional neglect, and what we call household dysfunction, which was growing up in households where there's mentally ill caregivers or mentally ill people in the home, household substance abuse, domestic violence, parental separation or divorce, or criminal behavior in the house. So those are the 10 categories of experiences that we call adversity. And what we found when we studied them is that they're really common. And the second thing we found is that when there's one of those types of experiences in the life of a child, that there tends to be multiple others. So they're common, they're highly interrelated, they co-occur. And the third thing that we found is if you add up the number of categories of experience, that there is this cumulative impact of those experiences on the risk of public health problems. Many of the leading causes of death in the United States are somehow associated with ACEs, things like stroke, diabetes, risk factors for HIV/AIDS, cancers, and the behaviors that lead to those. We found that people who have high levels of adversity in their lives tend to die younger, so it causes premature mortality. And in terms of morbidity, probably the greatest impact on morbidity is in the area of substance abuse and mental health. I think it's very safe to say that ACEs are a leading cause of both mental health and substance abuse. And everywhere this has been studied, there's this very powerful relationship between childhood adversity, mental health problems of various sorts, and substance abuse problems of various sorts. Yeah. At this point in time, the way states can use the ACEs surveillance data, I think, is to point out that these problems, the mental health and substance abuse problems that are so prevalent, are largely preventable, that they're not necessarily destiny or genetics. They have genetic components, that many of those problems are very experientially oriented, that the traumatic stress of abuse and neglect and other ACEs affect neurodevelopment in a way that leads to mental health and substance abuse problems. So I think the major thing is to say that much of what happens in mental health and substance abuse can be prevented if we can reduce the level of stress in children's lives.
All right, family. There you go. There it is there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please, again, hit the like, share the video, go do your research. I just wanted to share this with you, and I'm glad it's under 2 hours. I'll leave the link to that video that I did. No, I'm not. That video's because there's some of the stuff on there with the religious when I was crazy, not saying that was crazy, but when I was super radical, I put a lot of stuff in there that just probably could have been left out. But I was a super zealot back then. But enough about me. Peace. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. Hotep. Namaste. Jumbo. Just love to you as a person and someone who wants the best for us, for humankind. So thank you for being here. Thank you, Juju. You should have hit the link. Come in here and sit with me next time, okay? Thank you so much for being here. This is my first time streaming on the HOK. But it's not my last, I hope. And no, but in all seriousness, we have some work to do, right, with our children. Thank you to those who are informed, like Julanda, and also I see some other people in here who are putting in information that they know about the ACEs, the secure attachment, and the DNA, the post-traumatic slave syndrome is tied to that, but not just that. Even the trauma that you get through childhood is encoded in your DNA. So I said enough. All right. Yes, let me leave that here. Just go Google. Yes, Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris. She's the leading expert on ACEs. And we should also let them know, go look at Piaget's work on secure attachment. His last name is Piaget. He's a psychiatrist, psychologist who did research and figured out about the secure attachment. So yes, go get your research on this because it's imperative that we know these things, right? It's not an option. Even if you don't have children, you interact with children or you have family members who have children and you want to inform them. No, don't leave your child and not play blocks. All you got to do is pick them up and kiss them. You know how many times? Put a 1 in the chat if you can relate to this. How many times my children, especially my son, while I'm cooking or doing something when he was a little tiny baby, like 2, 3, Mommy, look what I did. For the 100th time, I'm turning around. That's nice, son. Oh, it's so great. No, but you know what I mean? You have to respond. they build blocks. You have to, that's great. Oh, I love the picture. Then you only takes a minute, but after the 100th time, you're like, yes, son. No, but it helps the child in the child's development. So yes, Dr. Piaget, thank you. So peace to all of you. Much love. Peace, Joe E. Joe E says, if they would have detected these behaviors back during the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, we probably would have a better society these days. Yeah, so now we got a lot of work to do. Thank you for that last comment. Thank you, everybody. Oh, Danielle Ward, 77. Thank you for being here. I'm seeing you a lot. Come on over, sis. I'm trying my hardest to just balance. And I appreciate you being here. I really do. I just want balance. We want the balance, right, y'all? We don't want to blame one sex and then the other. We need to clean. We need to start with the children. We need to, I know that sounds cliche, but it's true. And with that said, I love y'all. Go check out the interview that we did, where I did today on the Cam Up podcast. Can you put the link in there, Tahuti? Or do you have the Cam Up podcast? Well, it's one of Sonetter's new channels, Cam Up podcast. She doesn't like to be called doctor. I love her so much. Sister Shahrazad Ali, as much as she's, gets a lot of pushback, she's very wise and she has a lot of information and she cares about the people. So when you get a chance, check that out. All right. Thank you. I should drop the link, right, Juju? Let me go get it really quickly. Oh, you want me to drop this link? Okay, sure. You can come in and on the closeout, have something to, say something on the closeout. That'd be great. Now, while you do that, come in. I'm going to grab this link from the Cam Up podcast. And, oh, okay, I hear you. You're in. Oh, is that, I do hear you, don't I? Oh, no, that's not you. That's me. Is that me? Napah, do this earlier. Okay, I need to go live earlier. I'm over in the Southwest, so it's way earlier here. Where is the Cam Up podcast? Are you getting it for me? I'm going to get it, Jahudi. But if you get it, that's great. Shahrazad. Here it is. Here it is. I'm going to drop the link right now so y'all can go watch it. I want to make things easy for you. Juju, if you're coming, did you mean drop the link to come in or to drop the link for this? Because I'll do both. I dropped the link. Okay, so the link I just dropped is to the Cam Up podcast with Dr. Shahrazad Ali. It's in the chat. All right, family. Okay, Juju, put a 1 in the chat if you meant drop the link for the Cam Up podcast. 2, did you mean drop the link here? For the podcast. Great. Okay, great. And it is in there. I want to tell you guys, peace. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much for tuning in. And I hope that this helped in some way. I'm sure it did, because it gives you information on how the biology is developed, how the psychology is developed because of the neurology, which is the biology, which all goes back to how you love and take care of the child. All right. Have a great night. Peace, and have a great weekend.